So I'm going to try to change up the channel's videos a little bit. Basically, I'm going to try to talk to you guys about the little tiny details that I'm going through with the two cars that I have. I have a Corvette C5 and a Grand Prix GTP currently that is turboed. And today I'm going to actually try to tie both of them in together a little bit. So on the C5, I have a MSD two-step ignition cut system. You can buy them pretty cheap off of Jags. I'll probably link it down in the description below. But you can check out a full install video on Luke Waters' YouTube channel. We did a pretty detailed, in-depth one on his channel, and it was really good. But since the C5 is going to be put away for the winter, I'm going to pull that off and see if I can mess around with it on the Grand Prix, because GM used the same style of connectors. So, as you can see, we did a pretty good job hiding it. So basically, stock, they come up with these engine covers that you have to remove, which did a very nice job of hiding the wires. Just trying to gently remove it so you can scratch that up. Take off the oil cap. Too. Alright, so now you can actually see the exposed wires. So this is where it ties in to the stock ignition system. You can see it has these on both sides that it plugs into. Basically it piggybacks off of it, and it gets the wire or the power from it, RPM signal, and it can actually cut the ignition going to these coil packs on each side. Now the only problem with this on a stock car is that it can actually mess with your catalytic converters a little bit and your secondary air injection, which is the only code I ever got when I had this on the car. But as soon as I cleared it, it didn't come back. So it works pretty well on a stock C5 if you ever want to install one of these. So basically just pull these back out right here, and then I don't know if you guys can see this, but the little ignition box is down over here. It has this wire going to it that gives it the signal, which I'm going to disconnect, and I will remove this little tiny box. Alright, so now I'll show you guys the actual two-step module I used. So this is the kit right here. It has two different trigger wires. Either it runs off of ground based or ignition based, and basically if this little red light comes on right here, that means that it is working and will cut ignition when it is being triggered. And if you look even closer, you can actually set the RPM. So I believe one goes in 1000 RPM increments and the other goes in 100 RPM increments. Get pretty fine adjustment out of it. So now let's go see if I can install this on the Grand Prix. Alright, so those of you who haven't seen the Grand Prix, basically it is a ZZP turbo kit with the crossover, T4 VS Racing 6766 turbo on it. And I had to run a adapter to go from a 38mm to a 44mm wastegate because that turbo was so efficient. As far as the engine goes, it's a stage 4 turbo cam from ZZP. Basically, you can idle like stock, which is great. And then the Camaro intake, of course, basically that allows me to just route the intercooler piping around the front and two up
the other side instead of going back the same way it came, running a smaller intercooler piping. I tried to run like the largest I could find pretty cheaply. So yeah, basically it's a 2.5 inch all the way around with an eBay intercooler. I will also say that for the heads, I ran some Texas Speed dual valve springs basically off the LS's, and had to do some head work with the machine shop for them. And that really allows this engine to rev, and that's what the Stage 4 turbo loves to do, is just rev. I've only ever revved it to about 7,000 and it didn't stop pulling. So I'm going to probably have to get bigger injectors, because basically I'm running out of injector going that high up. But for today's video, basically, so you have these connectors that GM uses for the ignition on the LS's. And this basically piggybacks to use this two-step. What I noticed on the Grand Prix is that the ignition system also uses the same exact connector for the ICM box right here. Problem with that is that this is a waste spark system, and that is a coil spark system. So this is going to read the tach output slightly differently. So I don't think that these numbers will actually correlate to anything in there. But as long as it can stop the engine from revving at a certain point. So basically I'm going to turn it way down and just rev it and trigger it to do ignition cut and see what it does. Hopefully it'll pick up the RPM signal. As far as the wiring on the Grand Prix goes, all I really know is that the white wire coming off the ICM does the RPM signal, so the white wire over here. I don't think that correlates to LS's, but, and I don't know how exactly I'll have to run this thing to get it to work, but I think what I'll do is basically try it with one side first. So I think this side has the most pins, or no, this side. They both have the most wire. They both have the same amount of wires going to them. Oh, gosh. So I'm going to say that this one, I'll try this shorter one first. The shorter leg of the two. And plug it in. If it'll plug in. It is not plugging in. Well, that kind of sucks. That's the whole purpose of this video. Oh, that's interesting. So, for the 3800 stuff, it looks like it is slightly different, but not by much. Why am I hitting on? They did move one little thing, I think. There's this little slot. So I wonder if the other one has that slot. Yep. Well, that sucks, because that's the most of this video. So, basically, this is a wash. So, thanks for watching. Sorry this didn't pan out so well, but be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I'm going to try to do more of these nitty-gritty videos with the Grand Prix and the Corvette in the future. Thanks.